Oh yeah, French Montana. Oh, that last song I was just listening to was Clear Soul Forces. It's a group out of North Carolina and Detroit with Cooley High. So very, very dope group. Right about now. Well, first of all, I want to thank our guests that were recently here, the Roma protesters. We're definitely going to have them back on and continue to follow their struggle. Right about now, I want to welcome a very special guest on a very special day today. And I announced this before at the beginning of the show. We had a proclamation that was signed by the governor, Mark Dayton. What was it, a couple days ago?
Yeah, just a few days back.
Okay. And announcing that the third week in May was officially recognized as Hip Hop Appreciation Week in the state of Minnesota. And that's the first of its kind here in the state of Minnesota. And I'm going to welcome our guest, Cable Reed, is in the house right about now. Switching headphones up.
No, we good. Yeah. I can work it on the fly. Get my freestyle on.
Okay. All right. Talk about how that came about. Actually, just introduce yourself, who you are, what you represent. Give us the lowdown.
Well, I'll make a formal introduction. I am hip-hop cultural specialist Cable Reed, studying under the lineage of Afrika Bambaataa, Kool DJ Herc, and the teacher KRS-One, directly guided and taught by KRS-One and Minister Zenaru of the Temple of Hip Hop. I've been a long-time Temple of Hip Hop member and became an active member about 8 years back.
Okay.
And just been building with teacher, building on the organization of the Temple of Hip Hop, and obviously just through that becoming more active.
For those who don't know, what is the Temple of Hip Hop?
Oh, the Temple of Hip Hop is a mass ministry, archive, school, and society that is focused on the preservation of hip hop culture, consciousness, and then obviously it's byproducts of the elements.
Dope. Tell us how this proclamation came about.
Man, a long, hard journey, to be quite honest. And it shouldn't even have been that hard. We've been at this, me specifically, with a coalition of people. I represent the Minnesota Hip Hop Coalition, but this has been my personal pet project. And I've been at this with the collective for 4 years. The problem has been a lot of times it's just looked at as music, a genre, basically products and services, and so that was really one of the main obstacles. It's been the consistent pushing on the consciousness and culture piece that really started to get it, to this space. So it's been 4 years. We've been working on it every single year. We've applied. We've done our bit of lobbying, reaching out to local elected officials, nonprofits, and just our hip hop connections throughout the state, really, to pull it together. And this year, it just Mark Dayton really saw it finally. And actually, when I got the call, they just straight up said, he loved it. This was great, and in the back of my mind I thought, why did he love it now versus the last 3 years we were reaching out to? But whatever it is, everything has its timing. So I think there's a sort of a divine timing to this too, because just recently Minneapolis adopted Columbus Day and changed that to Native American Day. Indigenous Peoples Day. Thank you for correcting that. And so there's just a big swell of really identifying culture now. And so the fact that we've been pushing that, it's like, okay, we're seeing this now. Like, it's not just a genre of music, it's not just an art form. Like, there is a lifestyle, a way of being to this. So that was a real significant change, definitely.
Dope. Well, congratulations on that, man.
It's a win for all of us. I don't like to take much of the credit, but it's
glad
really
I got
a
to
win.
partake in that today.
How was the celebrations today?
Oh, it was the real heads that needed to be there, that could make it out. There was a couple people I wish had time to get out, but it's Friday, it's holiday weekend and things like that. But on a freestyle level, those that were able to freestyle it and get into the mix and get into the spirit of it, it was beautiful. Obviously Reyes was able to get out there. we also had Mahmoud Al-Qadi, Professor Al-Qadi come out there, which was beautiful, really beautiful to see. And then we had the hip-hop governor, James Everett, out there, and just some local other people that had been a part of this journey of getting the proclamation. So it was significant for us in that respect to kind of be there, receive it, to see the hard work that we've been putting in for these last handful of years and see it manifest. But now it's time to take the show on the road and just like, Minnesota, for all of us, like this is huge, a real huge moment to be just acknowledged on a state level, because there's some other places in the country, like Chicago, they have a city proclamation, but this is the first state proclamation in the country. So it's a very significant moment, not just for Minnesota, but for the entire United States and really globally, of how we can start to institutionalize hip-hop and remix what's there.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, so talk more about that. What are some things that you're looking forward to now that this has passed?
Well, now, it's kind of like getting co-signed by the governor in a light way. And so this allows us now to really kind of go back to a lot of the people that we've been building with in a legislative sense, our elected officials, community supporters, nonprofits, as well as, the hip-hop community in general, and say, hey, look, this is a long, hard-fought thing. It may seem insignificant, but they're basically sending a shout-out to us like, hey, we see you. And so now, we got to get ourselves a little tightened up so we can deal with the institution on that level. So that's kind of the next part of like really rallying the hip-hop community. Be like, hey, it ain't just arts and product and service anymore. It really never has been, but here there's a strong focus on product and service. So it's like, let's elevate a little bit more. Let's take this a little step further. Let's start looking at our legislation. If we're going to do this, we already know what it's going to look like, but what are the steps we want to take? How are we going to prioritize ourselves on that mission? And just looking at legislation, and we've heard everything from, legalization and decriminalization of marijuana. Obviously, that's a big issue within our community, which ties immediately into the school-to-prison pipeline. Do we want to look at, just school-to-prison pipeline, violence legislation, a whole myriad of things.
Education.
And the education piece, which really at the end of the day is really where it all comes back to, because we're educating on our culture, we're trying to just enlighten and educate our youth, ourselves, and so kind of just expanding on that and finding those that really want to group with us more solid, because those that might have been a little gun shy about it, now it's like, oh, well, the governor signed a proclamation, so that must be okay.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it is a lot of times with hip-hop. And you were there, like, we were in the governor's office, and everybody was out, and like, we're in there being hip-hop, and the one lady was like, oh, you can't be all up in here like that, security's gonna come in, and right away it was like, boom, pull out the proclamation. It was like, we have a badge of protection now, and she kind of was like, oh, really? You guys got a proclamation? And then it became a discussion. And so that's a real big piece to this. So it opens up discussion a lot differently.
Talk to us a little bit about the recent conversation you had with Mahmoud Al-Qadi on KMOJ.
Oh, it was beautiful. Not a lot of people understand or get that hip-hop is the child of the civil rights movement. And I didn't need to explain that to him. And so when we started really getting into it and engaging, again, I'm always on the consciousness and culture piece more than products and services. And he just looked at me like, where has that been? And I said, well, you just met me, kind of a thing. And there's others out here that are like that, but, we're all trying to make a way in Minnesota that it doesn't necessarily get the highlight that it should. So when we really got to talking, he said, hey, actually, I got a radio show coming up that I'm going to be highlighting the Civil Rights Act in a couple of weeks. Man, I'd love if you could come out and share some of your thoughts and insight on hip-hop culture, and just to, again, open up that discussion piece. And so, he was doing the show anyway. So, again, it was that freestyle synchronicity moment. And so when I got out there, he totally set it up, and we just really broke down what is hip-hop, why do you feel that this is, the child of the civil rights movement, how does this connect, And, you know, it helps break down sort of generational barriers as well, because a lot of our elders are like, oh man, y'all on that hip hop thing, and you know, they see some negativity and they kind of want to dismiss the whole thing. And so it takes key individuals like ourselves where it's just like, it's not all like that, because there's some of us out there that do realize our history, do realize our roots, do know where we come from, and this is, you know, there was something before hip hop, and that was the civil rights movement. There was something before the civil rights movement, and that was jazz. So one thing kind of gives way to the next, and so I'm always talking about these different petri dishes that cultivate these different blossoming environments. And now we're kind of in another situation. And again, you know, our elders are always talking about taking responsibility. And so, you know, I use this analogy a lot. It's like a 16-year-old that just, you know, is getting ready to drive, or 15, got their learner's permit, and they got to ride with an adult. And what's the adult do? Most of the time, they're backseat driving. And so you end up in this situation where you cause that youth to become more nervous and more, you know, jittery and making mistakes because of that constant oversight and backseat driving. So, you know, having trust in the youth and knowing that is real important. And so the conversation really just opened that up of like, hey, you know, just because we're young, we're not all young and dumb. You know what I mean? There's some value in what it is that we have to offer if you guys just listen. But there's a language piece, a language barrier. And so that's what I'm always kind of focused on, is those language barriers, and then, you know, tying that piece in a solid way of like, hey, this is the civil rights movement today. This is 2.0 civil rights. But the language is different. The terminology is different. How we're addressing is different. We're looking at globalization now, not just, you know, ending segregation. So there is a higher level of functioning that the language has changed, and so people aren't as familiar with it, young and old at this point. But you know, that's the job of, you know, individuals like yourselves doing a radio show like this, doing the interviews that you guys do, just the work that we're all doing to show, hey, there is another level to this. So big shout out to Professor Elkade for just, again, I didn't need to explain it to him. He was really excited and just recognized it right away. So he just opened up that platform of dialogue, and you know, it's something that I think we'll really be able to continue on, keep building on, keep growing on. Because he said it himself. He's like, I'm always advocating hip hop, but my peers are like, nah, we ain't trying to hear that. And I start laughing. I'm like, so you're, you know, the older version of us, you know, because they're not trying to hear you either. And so it's real cool for him, I think, to have some younger people come in and speak that language, know that history. So yeah, it was beautiful, really.
Cool. We are getting short on time here.
I want to know a little bit about you personally, your interest in hip-hop musically. Who are some artists that you really enjoy listening to based in Minneapolis?
In Minneapolis? Oh, well, I just missed one that I do enjoy, and you guys had them in the building. I was sorry that I couldn't get here earlier.
Buja has a show tonight. We're all going to.
Got you.
7th Street entry.
Yeah, I kissed it, the devil missed it.
Yeah. That's funny.
So many things going on. So many things going on this week. Another individual that I've had an eye on for a while is Maria Issa. I've always really enjoyed her stuff, her material in general. There's some other artists, a lot of artists that don't get a lot of highlight. A cat by the name of Casual the MC. Another cat. Oh, and shout out to Spit Flame. Like, you know, they got a lot of dope stuff going on. DJs, you know, DJ Hot Damn, of course, Francisco. You know what I'm saying? Gosh, who else? Right? Oh, a cat is Blake Redeye. I'm gonna send that shout out. Again, these are artists that aren't getting a whole lot of, you know, mass exposure, but you know, they're cats that I keep an eye out. A lot of underground artists that are really now on the sort of
who do you, not to cut you off, but who do you like at Sunset? If you're gonna go out to Sunset, who are you most anticipating to see out there?
Nas. I mean, hands down, man. I would like to see Cypress Hill. I was fortunate enough to catch Cypress Hill some years back.
Yeah, me too. 92, I think I seen that.
Oh, Was it the Up in Smoke over at Roy Wilkins?
I was there when they had the big joint.
Yes.
On stage.
Yeah.
Huge split.
That was dope.
And they had the zigzag thing
Yep,
behind it.
yep.
Yeah,
That was a
wild.
dope show.
I was there, brother. I was there.
Synchronicity.
Yeah. Synchronicity is the term for today.
Oh.
You said that twice. What is synchronicity?
Synchronicity, like in a freestyle sense, synchronicity is where the creator comes in and moves you, and you can't do anything but fall in line and link up and become in sync
One
with things,
beat, one with cable,
And you-
one
with the
system.
environment. With the environment, and when you have that going on in the whole environment, you have hip hop. So that's where the space of miracles come from. That's where you hear those dope rhymes that are in a freestyle that, sometimes you can't write that, and it's like, oh no, I wish we would have wrote that down, and the freestyle moment happened, it came, it was special, and it passes,
Cable, before we get out of here, one last message to, we can take some photos, we're gonna have you tag the wall.
Oh, word,
So we know that you was here. And one last message for our listeners from Cable Reed. Let's hear it.
Oh man, one last message. Well, I'd like to give two. First one.
You're not allowed to.
Oh man, just really the first one.
2 and 1.
Hip hop's beautiful. I love the art. I love the art that's coming out of it. I just want to make sure that local hip hoppers are just realizing, look, there's more in that consciousness and culture piece. Second part is just kind of my little catchphrase is, you can be nickel and dimed to death, and if you can be nickel and dimed to death, you can be nickel and dimed into a fortune. All you need is a nickel and a dime, and that's hip hop.
Say what?
You can
I
be
heard
nickeled and dimed to death.
Okay, I got you.
So you can be nickeled and dimed into a fortune, and to have that fortune, all you need is a nickel and a dime.
Word is born. Word is born.
Wisdom
Cable
from
Reed.
Cable Reed.
All right, thank you for coming through, brother. This
Oh,
is
it's a
Save the
pleasure.
Kids
It's a
Radio
pleasure.
with
Been a
DJ
minute.
Francisco and DJ Dimples. One last thing, we're gonna announce Moves Outside's show tonight again. We're all going down there. I'm
9
excited.
p.m., 7th Street Entry, one of the
7th
best
Street
shows all year.
Yes, for sure. We're gonna have Simone DeJour down there, Mike DeMarter,
Nazim.
Oh.
Bobby
Rip.
Raps,
Mike the Martyr.
Yeah. We said Mike DeMarter twice. Now 3
He
times.
deserves to be said 3 times.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Next week we have the group Up Rock coming on the show. And stay tuned for that. The invite will be coming up soon. And National Week of Action. Keep fighting a good fight out there, y'all. I mean, whoever's listening, I have no idea who's listening. But Save the Kids is with you. And we love you. We support you. Whatever city you're from, Twin Cities is with you. And shout out to Anthony for calling earlier. We had a conversation with Anthony over the phone, and all Save the Kids, Save the Kids members. Shout out to everybody in the Twin Cities.
Oh, one quick shout out to Minnesota Hip Hop Coalition. Make sure y'all check that out, mnhiphopcoalition.org. You'll see more about the actual proclamation and some of those next moves too. So
Thank you so much for coming through.
thank you for having me. Appreciate
Save
it.
the Kids Radio. We're gonna get out here with some Stevie Wonder. Check it out. This is a remix by Beatnik and K Salon, who I grew up with. You know, K Salon, and me and him knew each other since junior high. For real? I'm the one that gave him his first fucking turntables, man. Yes, ask K Salon. I am, and he'll be like, he used to come over to the house, we used to rock
That's
together.
another I forgot about them. I used to love everything that they be mixing.
Yeah, Beatnik and K Salon, they're both from St. Louis Park. This is their remix, man.
Okay.
Where did Derek go?
Outside podcast.
Alright, you want to tag the wall? Pick anywhere and put STA underneath.
Oh, that too. You should write mnhiphopcoalition.org too.
Wherever. Huh? Oh, yeah.
summer love crowd.